Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome, folks, to another fun-filled edition of Who Wants to Retire Worry-Free? And now your host of our show, America's money missionary, Tony Walker.
I'll tell you what, this is the last time Susan complains about my receding hairline.
Oh, hey folks, and welcome to Who Wants to Retire Worry-Free? I'm your host, Tony Walker, and today's contestants are Aaron, Gina, and Derek. Okay, folks, we got a tough question for you. You need to solve this puzzle. What does this acronym mean? P.T.S.Y. and M. Aaron, take a stab at it.
Pass the sauce, you moron.
No, Aaron. Gina, how about you? Do you know what P.T.S.Y.M means?
Please, Tony, send yacht money.
No, it's always about boats, Gina. And now, Derek, you've got to have this answer. Come on, buddy. This is for 1,000 milkshakes. Let her rip. Ooh, that's not it either. Well, guess what? I've got the answer.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
It's called an acronym. Webster's Dictionary defines the word acronym as follows: a word formed from the initial letter or letters of each of the successive major parts of a compound term. For instance, a common and popular acronym tossed around a lot might be NASA, which stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Another common acronym, ASAP, which stands for, of course, as soon as possible. And it's not just the real world full of shortened terms represented by acronyms. We in the financial world have our own acronyms, such as CLU, CFP, CFA, CHFC, IRA, RMD, CRAT, CRUT, SEP. The list is endless. But what do they all mean? Well, quite frankly, these commonly used acronyms pale in comparison to the new acronym I came up with accidentally when stumbling across a meeting with a saver in our Lexington office called P.T.S.Y.M. So, what does this newly created Tony Walker acronym stand for? Well, let's find out. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, financial acronym specialist and fiduciary Tony Walker. And today I've got some good news and I got some bad news as to why the financial world doesn't want you to learn about this latest acronym I have discovered and how we are going to turn the tables on them by showing you how to get more control over your money and stop giving it up to them. But first, let me introduce two young lads who make this show possible each week. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Ordander.
Aaron Ordander? That's not how you say my last name, folks. Orinder. Okay, back to the show.
And Louisville's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. And also, our newest hire here at WorryFree Productions, our new associate producer, Miss Mary Beth Combs. Good morning, Mary Beth. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. I understand you're in charge of sound.
Yes.
How's that going?
I think it's going great.
Oh, great. Well, we're looking so forward to having you, and you keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us. So let me set the stage. Several weeks ago, while meeting with a brand new prospective client in our Lexington office, and after showing him our personalized game plan of how he could use and enjoy more of his money without the fear of running out, the gentleman looked up from reviewing the assessment and said, "Tony, after meeting with lots of financial advisors over the years, I feel like you're the first person that is giving me permission to spend my own money." Now, taken aback by this comment, I responded, "Sir, I never thought about it this way, but now I realize my mission with savers like you is to do just that, to give you permission to spend your money." And then I immediately do what good acronym specialists always do. I created a brand new acronym right on the spot called P.T.S.Y.M, which stands for permission to spend your money. You see, folks, in working in the financial trenches for over 37 years and in meeting with over 15,000 savers and overseeing more than 5,000 game plans and watching how the financial world handles your money, here's the simple truth. Most advisors and the financial institutions they represent in the financial world currently holding onto your money do not want to give this money back. Oh, sure, they'll throw you a bone every once in a while, maybe let you take some dividends or interest off the money. But what we're going to find out today, what is the real reason they don't want you spending your own money? In fact, as I've often said, they're usually a whole lot more excited to get your money than it is to give it back. So why is it so difficult for you and your money to get back from the financial world that you've handed it over to? Well, I've got some great stuff coming your way. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And since we're in game show mode here on the Worry-Free Retirement, let me give you another pop quiz. Ready? How many letters are in the alphabet? I'll pause just a second. Okay. Well, if you guessed 26, you would be correct, which is why articles like this are written to describe how we in the financial world can make things real confusing when we take those same 26 letters and create all kinds of goofy acronyms that most of the general public has no clue nor care to know what they mean. That's because when it comes down to it, most of these acronyms do nothing in the way of helping you figure out when and how to get the most of your money that you've worked so hard to save. This is why my latest acronym is the most important acronym you need to know, and it's called P.T.S.Y.M, or Permission to Spend Your Money. Which you might be saying to yourself right now, yeah, that's right, Tony. It does seem like nobody in the financial world wants me to spend and enjoy this money. All they want me to do is keep saving it for the future. Why is this, you might ask? Well, it comes down to the one acronym we live by in the financial world, and that's called OPM. Well, guess what that stands for? Other People's Money. Now, I cover OPM in a great deal in my book, Don't Follow the Herd. So you might want to get a copy of that because it's really good and it gets to the essence of what OPM is and why the financial world wants to get control of your money. Don't be fooled by goofy slogans like "we do better when you do better," because assuming we can hang on to your money, believe me, we still do better even when you do not. You know, one of the many financial mentors I've had over the years was a gentleman by the name of Bob Castellone, who described OPM this way. He said OPM is a lot like Dracula. In order for him to survive, he needed a daily source of other people's blood. Without their blood, he would die. And while the financial world doesn't need our blood to survive, they do need our money, and they need it coming to them on a regular basis, and they need it staying with them for as long as possible. And if they don't get it and hang on to it, yep, they too will die. Take one of the greatest OPM strategies created by the financial world ever, called the 401k savings plan. Now, don't get me wrong, the 401k plan is a great way to save money for the future, but it is the worst tool ever for trying to gain control back over your money. Created in 1978 to replace Granddad's beloved mailbox money offered by pensions, the 401k strategy composed by the financial world goes something like this. You work your tail off each day and agree to deduct from your paycheck money that goes directly to the financial world. They invest it for you and they make fees every year for the next 30 or 40 years while you're slaving away until that magical day when you supposedly retire. Now, all along, they are guaranteed to make money on your money while you're not. Also, you can't even get access to that money unless you wait till age 59 and a half or terminate employment. In other words, you have no control over this money while it's in what we call accumulation phase. For the most part, during your working years, it's out of your control, and then retirement arrives. That time you're looking forward to spending your money, right? No, you can't spend it. That's what the financial world says, because then if you spend it, you're going to run out of money, or you're going to get tossed into a nursing home and you might need it later, or whatever the excuse is they give you for not spending and enjoying this money before it's too late. And even if you decide to take charge and spend it, whoop, all of a sudden a newcomer shows up called Uncle Sam, and you make the mistake there of giving over your fair share of taxes that's been buried in this thing. So then, after the financial world reminds you of all these taxes, something I call the tax tumor, you don't even spend the money because you're afraid of paying the taxes. Folks, this is madness. The very thing you saved up for, retirement, is the very point in time that the financial world's OPM kicks in because they don't want you to spend it. This is why years ago in my book, The Worry-Free Retirement, I created a visual, a timeline, if you will. And what I did was I divided this timeline up so that you could see different ages. And in fact, I had something called the second half of life created in this timeline, a point in time where you should be able to spend and enjoy your money, but most people don't. So what I'm going to do with this timeline is give you a little pop quiz again. I know it's quiz day, but that's part of the theme of the show. So here goes. Pretty easy question. What is your current age? And Derek, let's say they say 58. Okay, great. You got that one right. Okay, the next question, though, is going to be a little more difficult. In fact, I got a couple for you. Here we go. You ready? At what age do you plan on dying? Maybe it's 72. I don't know. You say, I don't know, Tony. How about this one? At what age do you plan on getting sick? 85? I don't know. At what age do you plan on having to put your spouse in a nursing home? 88? You see, where I'm going with all this, folks, your life expectancy may not be as long as you think. Here's the average. You could die sooner, you could get sicker sooner, you may live longer. Who really knows? That's why you got to put a plan in motion before it's too late, which leads to another new acronym I created, TDC. Guess what this one means? They don't care. And what I'm talking about is the financial world, folks. They don't care that your spouse may be deteriorating. They don't care that you missed out on enjoying the money when you were younger. They don't care if the stock market crashes 50% right the day before you retire. Why? Because of OPM. You got it? Okay. Now when I come back, I'm going to show you how to fight OPM, how to do battle with it, and the difference between hiring someone like us to be in charge and how to be in control. Good stuff coming your way. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Our Live Well, Die Broke moment actually comes to us from Louisville's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. And since I know nothing about this person, Derek, that you recently encountered, tell us a little bit about this person, what attracted you to what his mission in life actually is.
Yeah, so Friday I saw a photo of a Jeep driving around Louisville that was decorated like Scooby-Doo, but it had Scooby-Doo driving it. So I kind of reached out to the guy. I was like, hey, can I come get some photos? And he's like, absolutely. And we ended up speaking for like an hour. And he told me that years ago he had a very terminal illness and he wanted his kids to remember him by something. So he bought 2 Jeeps and he decorated both of them. I think one of his first ones was Pennywise, and then there was a SpongeBob one. And he drives on the right side, so it looks like, whatever he puts in what would be the driver's seat. Yeah,
So Scooby-Doo looks like Scooby's driving down the road.
It looks like it, and a lot of cops pull him over, wondering why Scooby-Doo is driving a Jeep. But it ended up, he was in films now. He's been nationally recognized. He visits terminally ill kids in hospitals, and he made a Fortnite one because one of them asked for it. Huh. And surprisingly, his illness completely went away. So
what's the moral of the story for you personally? Because
For
I
me
can tell it
personally,
kind of touched you.
that the universe will come together when it appreciates what you're doing, when you go out of your way and maybe do something a little odd, but something
For other
that rings
people.
true for other people. Because I tried to give him a donation and he wouldn't take it. He doesn't take donations for this. So
That's really awesome. Thanks, Derek, for sharing that with me.
absolutely.
By the way, folks, if you like this message of permission to spend your own money before it's too late, let me invite you to learn more about our Live Well, Die Broke philosophy. And there's 3 ways you can do that. First, you can go to any major bookseller and purchase the book, Live Well, Die Broke. Second, we have an interview I conducted last year, and it is a really cool website. It's called Feisty Side of 50. And I would really encourage you to check it out after the show. It's a really good website geared towards boomers. But anyway, you also can check out the post, the blog post, and the audio of this interview. It takes about 15 minutes of the young lady that interviewed me on the Live Well, Die Broke philosophy and how it's so much different than what the world is pushing out there. So if you want to listen to the podcast, all you got to do is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to scroll down and you'll see the Feisty Side of 50. Underneath that's a little box. Just click there and you can listen to the audio. And then finally, if you want to, we can just meet by phone. We call this the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started, and you'll notice a bar that you can check on that sets up that 10-minute free fiduciary phone call, and we'll be happy to arrange that for you. So how does the financial world's attitude of OPM get communicated to savers in a way that convinces them not to spend their money? Well, in my book, Live Well, Die Broke, I call this phenomenon the guilt trip gospel. You see, friend, if I in the financial world can make you feel guilty about using your own money, if I can scare you into thinking that one day you're going to need boatloads of money, so you better not spend it now, then I've won the OPM game, and now I have control over your money. The guilt trip gospel is not only narcissistic, but a horrible way for you to be controlled and live the remaining years of your life. That is, afraid of spending your own money. And this notion of spending your money before it's too late is something I've been preaching and writing about for years. In fact, in my book, The WorryFree Retirement, notice on page 97 where I talk about this idea of you better spend it before it's too late. And this book began to be authored almost 20 years ago. So how do we at Tony Walker Financial allow our clients to feel in more control of their money? Well, let's do this, and let's take a look in detail of what we can do. And we call this in charge versus in control. Now, I want to slow down on this a minute because when you think about it, if you were to hire an advisor like us, we're a money manager, we're fiduciaries, maybe you're sitting there and you got a 401k that you've got to roll over, or maybe a bunch of money languishing in the bank, or you just received an inheritance. Let's face it, you wouldn't contact someone like us unless you felt like you needed assistance, unless you felt like you wanted somebody to be in charge of your money and your process. So obviously, TWF or Tony Walker Financial, that's what we do. Now there's a problem though. Our mission is to put you in control of your money, and we're really good at this, but the problem is the people that really want to control your money, and you don't realize what they're doing through OPM, is they want to be in control. Not only are they in charge of your money, but they're in control of your life, in control of your money, your emotions sometimes. They make you feel funny about what you're even thinking about doing with the money, maybe even putting you on the guilt trip gospel. So what is the charge of Tony Walker Financial? What are we really trying to do, and how do we make this truly worry-free? Here's where it all lies. We have to put you in control. Now think about that a minute. Let's think about the stock market, which right now as we record this show in October of 2021, it's at all-time highs. But you and I both know, you and I, neither of us, even though I know a lot about the stock market and I'm a money manager, fiduciary, been doing this for years, there's no way anybody has control over that stock market. That thing could crash at a moment's notice. So if you're a saver and you're in your 60s, let's say, and you got a 401k and half of it's out in the market, the reason you're losing sleep at night, the reason you're worried is you realize you have no control. So the idea is we're in charge, but we put you in control. They might say, Tony, this sounds wonderful because I don't feel in control, and I didn't realize maybe that's why I'm so worried. Well, now how do we do that? Well, let's go through a few of the steps. First of all, I want to know exactly what your vision is for not only now, but in the future. I want to know about your family. I want to know about things you might want to do. I'm going to ask a lot of questions most advisors would never ask because I do care about how you're going to use and enjoy this money. It's primary to what we're doing. The second step is we're going to assess your situation. My team, I will take your information and we're going to work on an income plan. It can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to put this income plan together, this assessment. And guess what? It is absolutely free. So what we do in that second appointment, you're going to see the game plan, and then it's going to be up to you if you want to commit to the game plan or not. Next, if you say, yeah, Tony, I want to move this money over to you, or I want to do this or do that, we want you to handle everything, Tony. We implement the game plan. We do it all. And then finally, we're going to monitor your progress. That's right, I still meet with a lot of clients. In fact, I had 5 current client meetings yesterday. These are people that just wanted to come in and talk to me. Now, here's the second thing we have. Folks, we have a very large staff. You know, a lot of advisors are not interested in growing staff. You know why? Because it costs a lot of money. But what I've found is the obligation and the stewardship I have to my clients who trust me through retirement. Now, folks, it's in a one-shot deal here. They're expecting me to be there for them for the long haul. Well, what if I'm not? Something could happen to Tony. What I've got is more than 10 full-time service experts. But not only that, we have an unusual situation. We have 3 full-time salaried fiduciaries. Now, they've been trained in the process. They're trained in products for sure, but we're more about process than products. So here's the beauty. If you work with Tony Walker Financial and something happens to me, you know that number 1, the process isn't going to change. Number 2, you've got a staff that's there to continue to service your needs long after the sale. And I think just as importantly, you've got 3 highly trained salaried fiduciaries that are going to be there for the long haul. And then I think this is the best part of all, and it still kind of surprises people, quite frankly. You are actually going to meet with the owner of the company. That's right, somebody's been doing this over 37 years. I've literally met in person with more than 15,000 people. I've overseen more than 5,000 game plans, and yes, I still meet with anywhere from 20 to 30 people a week. Why is that? Because I've built an organization that can handle all of these meetings and the process that I create in trying to help more and more savers worry less about money. So if you're sitting there right now saying, Tony, I don't have a process, I don't have a team of local experts that can help me, I sure don't have any salaried fiduciaries, and I am worried about my advisor. If something happens to them, what's going to happen to me? Well, don't worry any longer. Right now, what I want you to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started. There is absolutely no obligation for us to talk in person, and if it warrants, I'll be happy to meet with you in either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices, or if it's more convenient, just call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, what does the Bible have to say about acronyms, and what's the best way to overcome a lot of these fears we're kind of handling and dealing with the world? Well, I've got some great news coming up. You stay tuned. I'm going to talk about what the Bible has to say about your money and your fears. But first, let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
The theme of our show today includes the multitude of financial acronyms we in the financial world tend to toss around to consumers who usually know nothing about what in the heck we're talking about. That's why after 37 years in the trenches, I stumbled onto the most important acronym of all, P.T.S.Y.M, which stands for Permission to Spend Your Money. Well, what is really behind the wisdom of this acronym? Well, as discussed in my book, Live Well, Die Broke, P.T.S.Y.M assumes that we are all going to die one day, and since we're going to die and we can't take it with us, in other words, we're going to die broke, why not spend this money before it's too late? You see, the Live Well, Die Broke philosophy reminds us that there needs to be a sense of urgency about the place and time we find ourselves in, and that we are not to get too complacent nor forget that life can change in a heartbeat. You know, the same thing can happen to us Christians. We can become complacent about how God has blessed us and who we must always place our faith in, and in who ultimately we will stand before in judgment. And with this in mind, I've come up with a brand new acronym to help us create some urgency about our lives here on earth and how best to get along with the world during our short stay here. And it's called FTL, and it stands for Fear the Lord. Look at what King David had to say regarding the urgency of meeting face to face with God at a moment's notice, where in Psalm 112:1, he simply says, "Praise the Lord." You know, folks, when you think of God, as King David reminds us, we should always praise His name. Sounds easy enough until you get tossed around by the world, right? But right after praising God, look at what David says we should do with this admonition. How blessed is the man who fears the Lord. Look at that verse and let me ask you a question. Do you truly have FTL? Do you have a daily reverent fear of God, or are you too hung up in all the fears of the world to fear Him more? You know, as we record this show in October of 2021, still grappling with the fear of what a virus might cause, even death, might I remind you that if COVID doesn't get you, something else eventually will. Yet this fear of God, a condition we are now calling FTL, allows us to not fear the gloom and doom news we hear on TV or read on the internet. In fact, check it out in verse 7. It says, "A man or woman who fears the Lord will not fear evil tidings." In other words, will not have any fear because there's a bunch of bad news. And what about our sense of giving? Does FTL create a sense of urgency that allows us to be more generous? You bet. Look at verse 9, which reminds us of how temporary our lives are and our money is, and the only thing that matters is what's standing in front of us and the presence of the God of the universe. So friend, FTL is really good news, because no matter what your fears are in this world, right now we are reminded by one of the wisest men who ever lived that to fear the Lord will cast all of those other earthly fears aside. Amen? Well, speaking of fear, if you're that person who has been indoctrinated and fallen victim to the guilt-trip gospel preached by the financial world and now fearful of even spending this money you've worked so hard to save, well, here's my advice: fear not. Stop letting others control you by setting up a game plan that puts you in control. And assuming you're a saver and the topic of today's show has created in you a sense of urgency about getting control of your money, don't delay. Don't just sit there thinking about what might have been. Do something like grab that mobile device and either call the toll-free number on your screen, or you can log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and simply click on that Let's Get Started button. You will soon be contacted, and if you have an urgent need or just need to talk, we're going to be able to talk. I'm available, and there's never a fee to meet with me, Tony Walker. That's right, the owner of the company. So don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Let's talk more about P.T.S.Y.M now and get started with a written game plan that you can count on. Well, in the meantime, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We're going to look forward to next week. But as always, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.